we discussed about DHCP, right? So who can tell me what is DHCP? What is DHCP? Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. What is dynamic host configuration? Say if this new machine has to connect to your existing network and communicate, assume this is VLAN 10. One VLAN. There will be multiple machines already. And you will have a router as well, which is nothing but a default gateway. For this VLAN. Okay, we know what a VLAN is, what is a default gateway is, and all that. So assume you have so many machines who can talk to each other. So if a machine is able to communicate on network, it has IP address, these two are compulsory. And if it has to talk beyond its subnet, it needs default gateway. And if it want to communicate with machines using name, not IP, it needs DNS. So these things are required for any machine to communicate on your network. Do you guys agree? Guys, I'm repeating yesterday's topic. Try to understand. So any machine, it should have all these details. Otherwise, it can't be on network. So you are adding a new machine to this network. You have to assign all these to this machine as well for it to work. So there are two ways. Either you manually do all this or let DHCP take care of this. I'm trying to show the network configuration option here. And there was a question saying screen resolution. Did the video memory change fix the issue? So if you see here, guys, obtain IP address automatically. If you choose this, I mean, this is the default option, guys. If you have this selected on your machine, then it is getting from DHCP. If you want to assign an IP manually, use this option and assign an IP. Okay. So by default, when you install operating system, selection will be like this. Okay. If you don't make any change. If this is there, this machine will send a DHCP request. Okay. Assume this is a new machine. There will be a DHCP request. This DHCP request is a broadcast. So this machine doesn't know that there is a DHCP server and this is the IP of the DHCP server. This DHCP request is a broadcast. That means it will go to switch and it will get delivered to all the machines. Only DHCP server will respond to this. Others will just drop it. Okay. So this has reached here. This has reached here. 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 So everywhere it has gone. So here dropped. Here dropped. Here dropped. Here processed because this is DHCP server. Okay. And this DHCP server will send information about all this. So all this will be sent as response to this server. And this server will get configured with these things. Do we understand this process? Any questions? Okay, I'll take that as no more questions. So let's talk about domain controller. So you have little text about what is domain controller. But let's use diagrams. So first, let me ask you a question. If you guys are doing a group study, you will have some 4-5 students sitting together and studying. Is that right? Yes, no?
Yes.
So will there be any teacher in that group study?
No.
There will be no teacher. So you will have few students who will communicate and study well. So assume this as a work group. Okay, everybody is equal. There is no commanding authority in this. Okay. There is one more concept. where network is the same. But one of these machines will act as a dominating thing. So now don't think it is a group study. Think it is a classroom. In a classroom, you will have a teacher, and in this you will have a domain controller. And this kind of setup is called a domain. So this guy will put rules around and everybody else should follow. Okay. Will you guys follow whatever your teacher say, or will you try to dominate? No, right? Guys?
No, sir.
So this is the difference between work group and domain. Group study and classroom. Okay. So let me show you those options first. How a machine can be in a work group or domain. So if I go into this and go into properties, you see this work group. There is a work group name. If I go into change settings and click on this change, I have a domain option. Okay. If I mention a domain and provide a domain controller details, that means I'm saying I'll follow whatever domain controller says. Okay. Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So in this concept, you have controller and client. This is a domain client and this is a domain controller. Okay. Or say domain member. Yeah, not client, member. Okay. Do we understand this terminology, guys? Here everybody is a work group member. Any questions so far? Now we are trying to understand how to initiate or how to configure this domain controller. Okay, are we ready to understand?
Yes, sir.
So to install anything, where should we go?
Add roles and features. Service manager.
Yes, server manager, add roles and features. You are right. That's a Windows feature, right? So that's where you have to go. Click on manage, add roles and features. Next, next, next. Before I do all that, first let me change the name of this machine. This is a randomly generated name, right? So win something. So let me change the name of this machine first. I'll call it AD. AD full form is Active Directory, guys. What is the full form?
Active Directory.
Yes. See, there are two names for the same machine. People call it DC or AD. What is the full form of DC?
Domain controller.
Yes. And what is the full form of AD?
Active Directory.
Yes. So domain controller is the role, Active Directory is the service. You see here, do you see domain controller? No, you only see Active Directory. So I'm doing this and it is installing so many other dependent features. I'm not choosing anything. Just click on add features. Next, 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 install. So is it a big deal to install Active Directory? In Windows, nothing is a big deal. You just have to understand the concept and we will be good. How is easy? You should understand why and what.
Sir,
Yes.
difference between AD and DC?
Huh. AD and DC are nothing but two names for the same thing. Active
Both.
Directory is the service name. Domain controller is the role name.
Yes.
Okay. Two different names for the same thing. Now, I have installed the service. Did I configure it? No. To configure it, I have to promote this server to domain controller. Okay. Just click on this. And here I can mention all the details. So I have three options here, guys. So today you will have a little more theory. So try to understand, concentrate. This is the basic and this is the heart of your Windows. Okay, so pay attention. If you have a question, I'm okay to repeat as many times as you want. So are all of us awake? Okay, none of you are awake. I'm not saying Vivek, guys, awake.
Also,
None of you are awake.
we are awake.
Select the deployment option. So when we are starting this deployment, I have three options. Add domain controller to existing domain. Add new domain domain to an existing forest. Add a new forest. Okay. So how many of you know what are these? Anybody knows? Can anybody give me a one-liner about these three options? Okay, let me help you understand. So if I choose this last option, add a new forest, then there will be two things as an outcome. Say, when I'm doing this add a new forest and I'm giving a domain name. Then this maganti.com will create two things. It will create a forest with name maganti.com. And a domain, root domain. With name maganti.com. Okay. Do we understand this?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I say add a new domain to an existing forest. Then there is a forest by name maganti.com already and a root domain naming maganti.com already. Okay. Now I'm not adding a root domain. I'm adding a subdomain. So I can create a new domain. And remember, this is not root domain. This is a domain. Now I'm creating a domain and I can give any name. I can say maybe labs.com. This is also in the same forest. And this root domain is also in the same forest. Okay. Are we clear? Guys, any questions?
It is added in subdomain.
No, this is a domain, not a root domain.
Subdomain in root domain.
This is not subdomain. This is domain. See, normally there will be root domain, domain, and subdomain. This is not subdomain. This is domain. See, if I do this drop down, I have two things, child domain and tree domain. Okay. If I say tree, that means, say, in a forest, you will have multiple trees, right? So assume if you have one tree, this tree will have multiple branches, but this will not be a forest, right? Yes, no, this tree has multiple branches, but this is not a forest. If I have multiple trees, then it will become a forest. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Now, see, if you are starting a new tree domain, that means this is as good as root. Only difference between root and a tree domain is root and forest will have the same name. Tree domain will have a name which is not matching with forest. That's all. There is no higher priority for root domain and there is no lower priority for tree domain. Okay. All are the same. This is also a tree. This is also a tree. Root is the first tree. That's all. Are we clear?
Yes, sir. Got it.
So this is maganti.com. This is labs.com. If I say child domain, then this is child of one of these trees. Assume child is a branch. Okay. So maganti.com, then I will have a child domain saying lab.maganti.com. I can create one more child domain for maganti.com, which is maybe win dot. So these are two separate branches. Okay. I can have a connected branch. Say so maybe hyderabad.lab.maganti.com, bangalore.lab.maganti.com. So I can go to any level. Are you guys understanding the hierarchy or am I confusing you guys? Guys, are we clear so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm removing this forest. Next is add domain controller to an existing domain. So see, when I say Maganti.com, this is hosted on one domain controller. Domain controller is a machine. Say this is a Windows machine on which Maganti.com is running. Okay. For some reason, if this machine goes down, is my Maganti.com down?
Yes, down.
So if I have one more machine added to the same Maganti.com, so data will get replicated on these two, and say if this goes down, then is my Maganti.com down?
No.
So to enable this, you can add more machines to the same domain and things will get replicated on these. This is the last option. Add domain controller to an existing domain. Let it be a child domain, tree domain, or root domain, whatever it is, you can add domain controller to an existing domain. Do we understand all the three options? If you have a question, think about it and let me know. Okay, I'm taking it as you guys understood these three options. Okay, now you tell me which option should I choose?
Add a new forest.
Yes, because this is a fresh lab. We don't have an existing domain and all. So I'm choosing add a new forest and I'm choosing Maganti.com. Here I can set forest functionality level and domain functionality level. Okay, say if my forest functionality level is at 2008, my domain can be at 2008 and above. But if my forest is at 2012, my domain can be at 2012 and till 2016. Do you understand this?
No, sir.
Okay, so let me try and help you. So if I have multiple trees, this is a forest. Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Now, if I say this forest is 10-year-old, then oldest tree in this forest is how much old?
10.
Maximum 10 years old, right?
Yes, sir.
So say maybe this tree is first and it is 10-year-old. And this tree is 5-year-old. This tree is 1-year-old. I mean, don't go by tree and all that. Then I can call this forest 10-year-old. But if none of the tree is, say, if this is 2-year-old, can my forest be 10-year-old? It can be. Maybe someone has cut down the 10-year-old tree and planted a new one. Now my forest is still 10-year-old, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is fine. But I can't have a 100 or 200-year-old tree in my forest, right?
Yes.
Okay. A tree can't be older than the forest. A forest can be older than the tree. You guys understand the relation which I'm trying to make?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
In the same way, see, a forest, if I'm choosing forest at 2008, then tree can be 2008 or later. If I'm choosing my forest at 2012, my tree can be 2012 or later. Are you trying to understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So forest level says what is the level of each domain. Say if I have a forest at 2008, then a tree can be 2016, 2012, 2008 also. Okay. But if my forest is at 2012, my tree can be 2012 or 2016. Okay. Yes, no.
Yes, sir.
So when you are choosing the functional level, you come from the forest. Say I'm not interested in building old forests or old trees anymore. Then I don't have to choose the older one. And this functional level also affects the features available. Say if I choose 2008, that means I'm choosing the older version of forest and new features will not be available. Okay. Are you guys understanding this?
Yes, sir.
So when
Okay.
you are doing this, think wisely and do the right thing. When my forest is 2016, I have no other options here. Okay. Domain name. Specify domain controller capabilities. What should be there on your domain controller? So domain name system DNS, global catalog GC. If you want these two capabilities, you will enable these. But if you are adding a secondary domain controller, then you will have this third option also. That means it's only a read-only controller. You can't make any changes to that. Okay. So we will talk about DNS. Let's not worry about DNS. We will talk about global catalog and read-only domain controller. Okay. So global catalog. Say you have a domain controller and so there is a member who got added to your DC. Okay. So he will be part of this global catalog. Okay. This guy can create a global catalog and make this available on the DC. So one more member. This guy can also be part of DC. There are few more things which I have to explain when I talk about global catalog. For now, just assume all of them will get published in the global catalog. Okay, DC will be hosting your global catalog. Next is read-only domain controller. Say you have one DC already for which you have access and you are or this is the primary domain controller. Say this is the primary DC. You cannot make this read only. You can log into this and add members and all that. But there is one more domain controller which you have added. You want to expose this to your clients, but they should not be able to make any changes to your domain. Then you can make this read only. So can you make changes to your domain from this machine? You cannot make any changes. But if you connect to this machine, you can make changes and they will get synced with this. Okay. If outsiders have to access, if you provide access to this one, then they cannot touch your domain. If there is a virus or something which has attacked your domain controller, that will not be able to mess up your domain. Okay. Are we clear?
Okay, sir.
As we are adding this root domain, we don't have this option enabled. So create DNS delegation. All these things we are not allowed right now because it is still configuring DNS. Say if you have delegation, that means you are authorizing one other machine to be your domain. I mean your DNS service. We will talk about DNS service. That's our next topic. So I would suggest you guys to go through this also later. So the same maganti.com will show up here. See, Maganti. So these are the different locations where files will get stored. Database folder, log file folder, system volumes folder. So let's keep them on default. And here is the summary of what I have selected. Now domain will get created. So it is doing a pre-check. It will give me a warning saying I don't have static IP, I have DHCP IP. I'm fine with that. Okay. So there are few warnings. In production, these are not allowed, but in lab, I'm fine with those. So I'm clicking on install and my DC installation is over. Is it a big deal to create a domain controller? It was just few clicks, guys, but we spoke about multiple options, so it took some time. Otherwise, it's very easy. Okay, think about it and let me know if you have any questions. This will take a little time. So we will continue tomorrow from here.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome. I think it was too much for today, right?
Thank you, sir.
Sorry. Okay, let's meet again tomorrow, guys.
Hi, sir. A small concern from my side.
Yeah.
After installing this Windows Server 2019, I was taken to command prompt.
That's because you did not choose the second option. You chose the first option. You should choose when you are installing Windows, right? You should choose with desktop experience option.
Okay, the default was the first one. I have clicked the same.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you choose the first one, it will only install core Windows. It will not install GUI.
Okay, so I'm not able to come out of this command prompt at all.
Yeah, I would say easier option is just delete that VM and create a new VM and do the installation. Or you can type exit or reboot. All these kind of commands will work there.
Just exit or reboot commands. And uninstall this completely and install.
No, don't uninstall. That's just a VM, right? You know how to delete a VM.
Yes.
Create a fresh VM.
Create a fresh VM. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. Sir.
Okay. Any other questions, guys?
I gave exit command here and screen turned completely black and nothing else.
Okay, you want to share your screen?
But today I joined on my mobile. When I turn on my camera and show. Just a second. I gave exit command. Looks like this turned off completely.
Hmm.
I'm trying to restart this. I guess this turned off, so this is not getting turned on. This
Why is-
system got turned off. I guess, sir. This is not getting turned on now.
Yeah, fine. But if you go into VirtualBox,
No, after installation of Windows Server 2019. Okay. Yes. Just a second, sir.
so did you install on VirtualBox or on your laptop?
On my laptop, I installed and just I got this, and I gave just
Okay, then you have to insert a CB and try to go through this boot order again, and you have to install with GUI experience. With command line, you can't do anything.
okay. I didn't get you, sir. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I can see your screen, but again, camera is turned off. But yeah, you have installed directly on your laptop, so you can't uninstall Windows. You can install it again by formatting your disk. So, which laptop are you using?
I'm using HP, sir. HP laptop.
Which HP is it? I mean, is it Inspiron?
Not Inspiron. I'm not sure exactly. I just took it yesterday from my brother.
So if you turn it around, you will see the model, right?
Yes.
It should be there on your test, I mean, monitor also somewhere. I mean, the screen.
I'm checking.
You will have a recovery option.
Yeah, again, it is the same. I got the commands, and once I gave exit, it completely turned off. It completely went shut down.
Yeah, one second. I will do one thing. I will post this recovery option on the group.
Okay.
You try to explore that HP recovery option. Okay. I'm getting a call. I'll ping you again.
Yeah, sure, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.